a rather interesting revelation was made that there has actually been the shutdown of some radio stations. Tell us quickly about that, and then we'll connect with the managing editor of one of those radio stations.
Well, could you, right after the vice chair of the Council of Elders had, read the press statement to the press at that particular meeting, the communications officer of the party, Sami Jemfi, took to the podium and made a quick announcement. He says Radio Gold and Radio XYZ, they had information that while the press conference was ongoing, these stations, which were hitherto carrying the proceedings live, had to be shut down because some officials of the Bureau of National Investigations, the police service, stormed the premise of these two radio stations and shut them down.
Even as this press conference was going on, we received disturbing news of the fact that some officers of the BNI and National Security and the NCA have besieged the premises of Radio XYZ and are currently closing down the station. All this is happening in Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana and Radio Gold as well. They are closing down Radio XYZ and they are closing down Radio Gold. They started with the gruesome murder of Ahmed Swale. And nobody said anything. They continue to attack press freedoms.
Yeah, that is the revelation that has come out this afternoon. Erica Hianyo is the managing editor at Radio XYZ. He joins me on the phone. Eric, it looks like a bad day for Radio XYZ. You've been shut down. What was the explanation given?
Yes, the truth is that this is a sad day not for XYZ alone, but for press freedom and Ghana as a nation-building democracy. And I'm sure that by now, as was announced, the public is aware. This afternoon, we were here, we were taking an event live from the NDC headquarters, and officials of the BNI, National Communications Authority, and some armed policemen, about 8 or 9 of them, including a lady, well armed, stormed the premises. Some of them stood or took positions behind our wall before that, the access to the main building. A few of them took positions within the forecourt of the reception. Others were positioned in the yard, and one of them followed the NCA officials, including some engineers. There was a lawyer among them who led the team. They asked for permission to see our directors. I made myself available, and our chief operating officer, Benanti. And so when we met them, we asked why they had stormed our premises with such well-armed to the chief officers. And they said they had brought a letter. It was very simple. They wouldn't say anything. They only wanted to serve us the letter so we could open and read the details. Now, the letter before me currently is headlined Expiration of FM Radio Frequency Authorization. Paragraph 2 of the letter they sent to us, signed by Joe Anoche, who is the Director General of the NCA, says, please note that the tribunal in its decision, and I'm making reference to the Electronic Communications Tribunal, if you remember, 2017, a number of media houses, including Radio XYZ, were said to have, not been able to renew their licenses, and so we're owing 4 million, others were owing as much as 10 million, 40 million cedis, and so on. So
how much were you owing?
We were owing 4 million cedis at that time. That is according to the NCA's check for not renewing our licenses. So the letter dated 8 May 2019, which was sent to us today, signed by Director General Joe Anoche, says in paragraph 2 that, and this is very profound, that please note that the tribunal in its decision quashed the penalties imposed by authority on defaulting FM stations, which means that the huge amount many radio stations, I'm sure you are aware, were owing had been brought to zero. So we're beginning on a fresh page. And so they are saying that since then, we have not renewed our license. And the last paragraph of this letter, which we received this afternoon, says, you are hereby directed to cease operating the FM radio station at Accra with immediate effect and reapply for a new FM authorization if you wish to operate an FM broadcasting radio station. The concluding part says, failure to comply with this directive will result in the arrest and prosecution of the directors of XYZ Broadcasting Limited for operating an FM station without authorization as enjoined by Section 24 of the Electronic Communications Act 2008. Now, prior to this, we had made several applications, at least 2 or 3 applications to NCA that we want to renew our licenses based on the experience we had with the surprise bills that some of us were owing 4 million, 10 million, 40 million, and so on. One of such letters is dated 5th July 2017. I have another one here, which is also responding to some of those queries, which is dated, let me just go through the documents, I think 28th July 2017. Now, the one we sent to them on 28th July 2017 is titled Package Presented to National Communications Authority, and this contains a list of regulatory requirements, letter of commitment, request of renewal license, application for renewal of broadcasting authorization, radio XYZ technical characteristics, XYZ broadcasting certificate to commence business, certificate of incorporation, and all it, you can imagine, 16 of them itemized here. We have also sent to NCA 2 bankers drafts, which were rejected because they told us they will get back to us, and these bankers drafts were to cover the renewal of licenses. One was GT Bank, dated July 6, 2017. The latest one was December 2018, same GT Bank, and the amount was 11,156 cedis. This is what we sent to the NCA, that we are ready, we have made application, and we've made several follow-ups. They will tell me Mr. is not there, the board is here to be, and so on. So as a business entity which has been in operation since, what we had to do was to continue operating with the hope that NCA will formally respond to our request. And then we go through the due processes when they raise the certificate for us to pay the renewal license. And so today we were just here and they came with a surprise letter signed by Mr. Anochi dated May 8th and told us to suspend our operation with immediate effect. At that time, the NDC as a party had requested that we cover the event live. And normally when they request for coverage of such events, they make some commitment, payment. And so we had to obviously notify them that we are going off air and we are not breaching our side of the obligation, but this is the situation. And that's how come, I'm sure it was announced as a surprise to many of our audience, including many of the media houses which were there, that indeed our network has been forced to close down.
All right. Now, Mr. Ahianyo, you've talked about the fact that you were making some financial commitments, you were making some payments in lieu of your situation. But the understanding that is presented here by the National Communications Authority in their release is that the ECT, the Electronic Communications Tribunal, in 2018 made a decision which reviewed the status of expired FM radio broadcasting authorizations, and which ruled, among others, that companies whose authorizations had expired reverted to the same position as a fresh applicant. While some stations shut down following these decisions, others did not. Clearly, you did not shut down, but the point is that you reverted to the position of a fresh applicant. So, by this ruling, you were to actually pay afresh for your spectrum licensing.
If you recall, I made reference to paragraph 2, which admits the position you just made reference to. And I also told you that the ruling by the Electronic Communication Tribunal was communicated to all media houses. We have written letters to the NCA. One is dated July 5, 2017. Even before the Electronic Communications Tribunal's ruling, we have been communicating with the NCA for a review of the decision they had taken, which affected us. And I have also made reference to a banker's draft dated July 6, 2017. And we sent requirements that we have to satisfy to go through the process. and this is July 28, 2017. So we made this effort to the NCA, including the banker's draft, which is the July 6, 2017, 11,165 on the check or in the name of GT Bank to NCA. We made another effort in December 2018, same amount, GT Bank, banker's draft to NCA, because we had made the approach to them that, look, we are a business entity in operation. There is an issue involving us breaching renewal of licenses. The case has been to court. There has been an arbitration. A ruling has been given. NCA admits in the communication they gave us today in paragraph 2 that please note that the tribunal in its decision quashed the penalties imposed by the authority on defaulting FM stations. Now, if the NCA responds, and then in paragraph 3 of their response makes reference to the expiration of our license on May 8th, and then we have made several appeals, and NCA will not respond to us. And imagine the whole of 2018 is a whole year. Between July 2017 and the end of 2017, it's about 6 months, let's say 5 months, and we've begun a fresh year. So we have gone severally to NCA's door knocking, and NCA will tell us we will respond to you at the appropriate time. So in that case, as a business entity which has made the move after the decision, I don't know.
Mr. Ahiayo, I think I understand the point you're making, that you sought to regularize your situation. Permit me to ask the question, Mr. Ahiayo.
Only comes to us that, look,
Mr. Ahiayo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, permit me to ask the question, please. What you're suggesting is that you sought to regularize your situation, but you didn't get feedback from the NCA on this matter. But I think that does not change the fact that you were operating without a license. Am I right? That is something you concede. Is that correct?
Yes. So because we're a business entity in operation,
without a license,
there was a ruling, and the ruling said all the affected media houses, let's cash how much they were owing them, and let them renew their licenses as if they were starting afresh. So
yes.
It's like you are starting from a fresh page.
That's right.
So you make a requisition for that process to be finalized, and so you make the letters available to NCA, and then you make available to NCA all the statutory requirements they expect from you. And this one was received by NCA, and they have their stamp in one of the documents before me as is it 28th July 2017 as received from the NCA, and that photocopy is before me as we speak. So the NCA has acknowledged our requisition for what must be done, the right thing that must be done. We have told the NCA we have bankers draft attached. He said, hold on with that one, we'll respond appropriately. And 1 year is gone. We are in the middle, almost in the middle of another year, and NCA storms our offices with security operatives that stop operating with immediate effect. That is the story I can say.
All right. So, Mr. Ahiayo, I think the point I was seeking to make was that much as you have made efforts to regularize your situation, you have not actually received the license required in order for you to operate legally.
NCA has not carried out its side of our expectation because we made the requisition. And obviously, we can't force certificates onto ourselves.
Yes.
It is the NCA as a regulatory authority which will then respond, and then we pay the necessary for the necessary documentation. Yeah. And then we take our license.
Yeah, that's understood, Mr. Ahiayo. So what have you done since this closure occurred? Less than an hour ago. Have you sought to contact the NCA about the way forward? What response have you received?
We immediately responded, reported this to our directors and our lawyers, and they will carry it up from there because the legal person who led the team said, we are closing it down because that is the directive we have been given. We are carrying out our directive. If you have any queries or any follow-up, speak to the NCA as an entity. And I'm sure that's what our directors and lawyers will be doing.
Right. Okay. Well, we will certainly keep an eye on this situation, follow through with you to see how it gets resolved. Until then, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Eric Ahiayo is the managing editor at Radio XYZ. Now, we'll be back in a moment to learn a little bit more about that situation.